Okay, so in this video, I asked in my Facebook group, what are some of the topics that people want me to make videos about? And I'm gonna read a comment from someone in there and then explain my thoughts about it. So stay tuned, you don't wanna miss. We're talking about what does it mean to be in the wish-fulfilled state? How can you maintain that state? And do you have to maintain that state in order to manifest what it is that you want? Hey everyone, it's Kim Velez, Conscious Life and Success Coach, and I'm really happy that you're here with me today. So before we dive into this, I want to remind you that if you feel like you need additional support other than my free Facebook group, my free, obviously, YouTube channel, as well as my podcast, I do have different ways that you can work with me. I have email coaching. I have one-on-one private video sessions. I also have a VIP group as well as a paid Facebook group. So all the info you can find below or go to my website. I also have a course on how to manifest your SP back and keep them for good. So if you're interested, you can find all the info below. All right, so we're gonna talk about this. I'm gonna read the comment and then talk about it a little bit. So this person writes, it's not about SP, it's about the state. When manifesting SP, is it really the SP you want, or is it the state that we're after? You can be as happy with anyone right now, doesn't matter who, as long as the state is provided. But does it matter? Can you still have the SP even if it's a state you're after? How to tell the difference between wanting a state or an SP. And she was saying that this was in discussion somewhere else and drove me mad. If you're only after the state, then you can drop all your specific desires, stop manifesting specifics, and just live in abundance in your head then. So would love an input, love your input in a video. Okay, so this is what I have experienced in my own life, and this is the stuff that you guys need to test yourself and figure out for you what, works, feels better, et cetera, et cetera. So the bottom line is this: no one can maintain the same state always. It is impossible. Even Neville said this in his teachings. It is not about staying in one state 24/7. Good luck with that. We are human. We are constantly changing our states with every fucking thought that we have. So the goal that you're after is always to move yourself into a state or a version of you, primarily that is whatever it is that you want for yourself. So how do you do that? Well, you do that through affirming. You do that through visualizing. You do that through creating something in your mind, focusing something in your mind that shifts you into that state. Your thoughts create your emotions. So when you are shifting your self-concept and you go from feeling insecure to feeling secure, you just shifted a state. You are now a new version of you. Now, would it feel better to feel secure more than feeling insecure? Abso-fucking-lutely, right? Nobody likes to feel insecure. It's not a good feeling. So will you feel insecure? Even secure, confident people, do they ever feel insecure at times? Yes. But what they do is that is not their primary state. They don't dwell in a version of them or a self-concept of them, right? Or a state primarily that is rooted in insecurity. That is not what secure, confident people do. So what do? They are in their mind, not consciously. It's most likely a natural assumption that's been programmed that way, whether they've programmed themselves that way or they grew up with it already programmed, that they are secure and confident, which is why they feel that way most of the time, but they still will have moments where they feel insecure. So when it comes to manifesting SPs, I have done it all. I have manifested lots of them in multiple times. I was married for 10 years. Like most of us have been there, done that. And even with this one that's currently in my life, it's been, this process of me overcoming everything that I'm teaching you all. I've been very clear about that since day one, that I'm working on this with you. So this is your goal that you want, is if you're going for the state of wish fulfilled, then you are wanting to focus your mental diet as much as you possibly can, which should be a lot, on thoughts and self-concept as well as the concept of them, also relationships in general, that move you into the state of wish fulfilled. The state of wish fulfilled means I have what I want. So if you had what you want, would you be sitting here worrying and feeling sad because you don't have what you want? No. So you have to train yourself to shift into that version of you, and you do that through your mind, what you pay attention to, what you focus on the most. Now, no one is going to be able to, again, micromanage 70,000 thoughts. You can't do it. It's humanly impossible at this time. No, that's not a limiting belief. That is truth. So what you want to do is do your best that you can to be aware of, this is what I want to experience, this is who I want to be, this is how I want to feel, and you persist in that until you embody that. This is what I talk about in my video about natural assumptions. This is how you actually reprogram yourself to move from a natural assumption that isn't favorable, that you have a history or lots of patterns within your life. That means you need to reprogram yourself, rather than someone who is trying to manifest something and that they don't have natural assumptions for that are negative. So I don't have natural assumptions when it comes to money and success, because every career I've had, I've always manifested abundance and success. So as an accountant, I manifested good money. As a therapist, I worked at one of the best, treatment agencies in the country, if not world, and manifested one of the highest paying positions fresh out of college as a therapist. When I went into private practice for myself after being a therapist, I manifested all my bills paid working 2 days a week, because that was my goal at that time. But nevertheless, I had the practice open for 4 years and I was fine. I manifested abundance. My primary issue in that position was moving towards coaching, because I wanted to go into the online arena and help people in a new and different way than I had done previously as a therapist. Now, as a coach, I have also manifested abundance as well. So for me, I don't need to sit here and battle opposing thoughts all day and reprogram a natural assumption and move myself into a self-concept of abundance when I've always done that. Now, what I've done is focus on, what is it that I want to make? How do I want to feel? What kind of person do I want to be? And transition myself into a new concept of self as a leader, as, a coach rather than a therapist, because it's two different self concepts. So I moved those states. So I don't have to do a lot of natural programming for that, but I still would affirm and focus on the end result of what I wanted. Also, when it comes to your SP, where the natural assumptions may not be favorable, and this is the part for myself that I'm overcoming, is to focus on self-concept, and that area I reaffirm constantly about who I am in regards to that, because that is the natural assumption, the programming that I grew up with based on my childhood, that is not favorable for me. I'm not getting the favorable outcomes that I want in that area of my life. So having said all that, this is why I know I can speak about this, because I've lived it, done it, I'm doing it, and also, working with all of you amazing people, all the fucking feedback that I get as well. So here's the thing. When you're shifting from, it is not about the SP, you are choosing to do your work with this person. So you're actually very special, because you're the one saying, I'm going to go through this beautiful transformational process of literally reprogramming my natural assumptions that aren't in my favor. I'm going to go through this amazing inner transformational process of overcoming old programming that doesn't work for me. And I'm going to choose to do it with this person. And they have no idea usually, right? Because it never is about them. It's always about you. They are only reflecting to you the primary story that you hold about yourself in regards to them and them. So you don't need to maintain that state 100 million %. You can't do it. It's impossible. We're humans. And again, your self-concept and your perspectives are always changing with every passing thought in your brain, and you're not aware of 95% of those thoughts. But this is what you're aiming to do. You're aiming to be a conscious creator. So as a conscious creator, you have to choose and select what you're focusing on in your mind. That's where the mental diet comes in. That is where you have to persist in focusing on the story of who you believe to be and what is happening with you and this person and who they are, et cetera, et cetera. So that's where you're going to train yourself to start dwelling, as Neville would say, in that state, in that version of yourself of the wish fulfilled. You wouldn't feel insecure. You wouldn't feel good enough. You wouldn't feel like, you don't have this person, et cetera, et cetera. You wouldn't feel like you've lost something. You wouldn't feel like you're never going to get it back. You wouldn't feel unloved, unworthy, et cetera, et cetera. Because if you were involved with this person and had what you wanted, you believe you would feel a certain way. So you're going to manufacture your feelings based with your thoughts. This is how our feelings are created, is through what we're focusing on in our minds, subconsciously and consciously. So you, as a conscious creator, are choosing, this is what I want to manifest in my life. And like I said, if you need to reprogram it, then you will need to be affirming if you have a shit ton of opposing thoughts or thoughts that go against what you want. You have to override that. You have to reprogram your mind with that. So it is never about dwelling there all the time. It's about moving yourself to a new set point. Your old set point, your old default of self-concept in love was, I don't get what I want, I'm not good enough. Okay, so we're transitioning you, or you're going to transition yourself, hopefully, into the version of you that, no, this is my normal who I am. This is my normal self-concept that I always get what I want. I'm always chosen. I'm always committed to whatever the story is that you want for yourself. So what happens is you're going to go back and forth. You're going to constantly go back and forth because, again, you have all these thoughts going on. Your job is to catch it as much as you possibly can and keep moving it into the new self-concept. So you're creating a new default state. You're creating a new, version of you that is your now set point. At some point, the more you dwell in this new concept of self, it becomes your new default state, and you reside there more than you do in the insecure state. Doesn't mean you won't fall back. You will, because again, even the most confident, secure people have moments of doubt and things like that. It's just they don't dwell there primarily. They're naturally like, nope, that's not okay. I'm going to get this because of the programming in their mind. So they pull themselves out quickly. So that's what you're doing. So it isn't about maintaining this state and feeling all the time, because even when you're in a relationship, you're fucking tired some days, you're cranky some days, like you're just not woohoo. It isn't about that. It's about your mental diet, focusing on the outcome that you want. So who do I want to be if I'm in the wish fulfilled? Or who am I should say. If I'm in the wish fulfilled, who is this person? If this person's in my life, then what would I be thinking about them? If they were a version for me that felt good for me, then what are the thoughts that I would be having of who they are in my life? And that looks very different usually than the old state, the old story. So that's what you're doing. It isn't about the SP. Again, you're choosing this person that I'm going to do this work, because here's the thing, and I know this because I've done this a million times, is when they're not in your life, it is so easy to focus on what you want, because you don't have this person as your mirror reflecting to you any of your thoughts that go against what you want. They're not in your 3D to put that mirror up to your face and show you your opposing story. So when they come back in, they're holding the mirror up and they're only reflecting to you what is really going on in you. That's why people have a harder time when the SP comes back in, because the mirror is now, held up to them, and they're seeing based off this person's responses and actions if it's a favorable story or a not so favorable story. So it isn't about them ever. It's always about you. So your job is to simply, and I've done this both, where I have already affirmed enough about something, and then I decided to just fuck them. This is before I knew about everyone as you pushed out. And I've said this in so many videos that I'd just be like, oh, I'm over them. Who cares? I'm moving on. I would get back in high self-concept. Like, I know how amazing I am. I'm this, I'm that. And I'd be feeling really good about myself. And then I would get excited because I'm like, oh my God, now I can get the love that I want, the relationship that I want. And I would get excited about all the amazing men, that I could potentially meet and encounter that are the whole package. And, so I'm over here. What am I doing? I move from a state of don't have what I want to a state of I have what I want, even though I didn't attach the SP to it. So what happened? Well, I've always manifested the SP back that way as well. So I've done it both ways. I've done it where I've specifically affirmed for them constantly. They've come back in, or I have done it where I dropped the story about them and I focused on myself. So you get to decide who you want to do this work with, because at the end of the day, whether it's this SP or that SP or someone new, they're still going to hold a mirror up to you and reflect whatever's going on inside of you. So it is not about the state. It is about, well, it's about maintaining the state of wish fulfilled as much as you can, but not about 100% of the time. You can't maintain one state 100% of the time. It's humanly impossible. So don't go for that. Go for primarily. Neville was very clear about that too. Neville would talk a lot about where you primarily dwell, the state you primarily reside in is, the one that you create. And that's the goal. It's primarily, dominantly. Your dominant thoughts create your reality. So whatever your dominant thoughts are about an SP or yourself in regards to the SP or relationships is what is going to keep manifesting. So, and then you got to look at it too, that your thoughts create your feelings and emotions. So obviously if your dominant thoughts are moving in the direction of you having what you want, right? And you keep focusing on it, affirming that this is who I am and this is, I have what I want, then you're naturally going to put yourself in a new state with better feelings. So I think a lot of times to answer this question where she said how to tell the difference between wanting a state or an SP, a lot of times people believe that this person outside of them makes them feel a certain way, right? Well, remember, they're only reflecting to us what was going on inside of us. So when we meet these people and we feel a connection to them or we care about them or whatever, they're going to mirror that back to some extent, right? You have this story, oh, I feel love when they're chasing you and pursuing you, it feels good, and you're affirming that in your mind. That's why you experience that. But this is never about anything outside of you makes you feel that way. We have to break that training. We have to break that conditioning of our mind, because that keeps you attached to something outside of you and always dependent and needing something outside of you. And the answer is always within you. The answers are you internally dwell in the life you want to live and be the version of you that has everything that they want. You will feel that naturally on your own. And then the beauty is, because you're so powerful, that whatever you're focusing on internally keeps getting pushed out, and then you experience that same shit over and over again. So you feel love, you feel good about yourself when you're focusing on thoughts that create those about yourself. So a lot of people think it's the SP. When I look at him or her, I feel this way, they make me feel this way. I'm not denying that, but I'm saying you're the one that's creating the feelings based off what you're thinking. You're just erroneously, mistakenly attaching it to this person. But you allowed those feelings. You focused on whatever story in your mind that created those feelings for you, so you can do the same without them. And then that's, you'll get them doing that. But you don't need someone outside of you to make you feel a certain way. That's you giving up your power. You make yourself feel the way you want based off the story of who you see yourself as, how you see others in your life, and your perspective of your SP and what's happening between you two. So it's not that a lot of people are after the state, which this is why a lot of people, when they're trying to manifest their SP, they're like, I don't care, I don't want to deal with them, I'll just meet someone new. But then if they don't do this inner work, even with the new person, that new person's still going to reflect to them their old story. That's what everyone is you pushed out. So they're still going to have to go through this process no matter who it is. So you get to decide who is going to be your SP that you want to do this with. You can choose someone new, or you can just, prefer someone that you've already rendezvoused with, so to speak. And that's your decision. That is a personal choice for everyone. I know for me personally, because I know that I get all this now, I'm understanding it because I've been living it, and I'm just like, I'm choosing this one person to allow myself to go through this experience with. But you don't have to. I just know for me, I'm ready, I'm overcoming it. Like, I don't want to live this way anymore. I want to get what I want, and this is the way to break it. So I'm choosing to do it now. So that's your choice though. All right, so I hope you found this video helpful. Please like, share, and subscribe. This was such a great question, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.